top and Brady's on bottom.
And now we're live.
All right, we're live. Welcome everyone to another one of our Swing Surgeon Google Hangouts live on air. We've got some questions and a few other things to talk about, but the first thing we're going to do is have Don talk about his recovery and how it's been after the surgery. So go ahead, Don.
All right, hello everybody. Serge here from my office, my den office, which is right above the backyard driving range. I'm looking down over it, and I think, as you can probably tell, my voice is pretty much back to normal. I still don't have my smell and taste buds back all the way, but outside of that, I'm doing a lot better. I'm I've got about a 4-inch bigger scar now. They had to make the scar a lot bigger because they had to rip me open a lot more than the last time to do a couple of things they did. In case you're wondering what happened, I got a single bypass and I had an aortic valve replacement because my aortic valve was terribly calcified all over it. When I went in, they told Susan and Kim and DJ that I'd probably be on the table for 5 hours. It ended up I was on there 8.5 hours. So they wore me out pretty good, and but everything is okay. I had a visit with the surgeon on Tuesday, and he said everything looks good. The chest looks good. The scar's about this big. It's about that big now, and but it's healing up pretty good. Still got a whole bunch of holes that are healing from all the tubes they had in me. I mean, they had a tube coming out of my neck over here. They had 2 or 3 down here in my stomach, and they had stuff everywhere. But things are starting to feel a lot better. I mean, normally, even like I'm wearing T-shirts, and even on all these little T-shirts, as soon as I take it off, my chest feels good. As soon as I put it down, my chest starts lighting up, and with like pins and needles and things like that. And it's just let me know it's still down here healing. The 2 sides of my chest over here are kind of very sore. I was told I was pulled open extra wide because they had to get into me to get to my heart and whatever they were doing on side angles. So I tell you what, it was very uncomfortable and very painful, a lot more so than the first time, but I'm really coming along. I get better every day. I guess the only big thing I have now is I could be really good, and just as quick as you can snap your finger, I'm like, I'm getting ready to fall asleep. I get really tired fast, but overall things are great. As I said, the doc said everything's great. He's okayed me to drive. I've driven only once, I just don't want to go very far because I don't know if I can stay awake behind the wheel long enough. And he's okayed me to stop putting, so I'll probably start doing that in a couple of days. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm doing great. Just want you all to know I can't thank you enough for all the get well wishes that came in when it was posted on the site that I was going in. I mean, I must have got 400 to 500 of them, and I've gone through a number of them. And the amazing thing, and I'll close with this: the amazing thing was when I read it and I announced what happened to me. I was surprised by how many of you noticed that in the last few months of my doing the dailies that I was breathing heavy. Kim used to catch it a lot, and she would say to me, she said, "Dad, you're breathing heavy." And I say, "No, I'm not." And but I imagine it's amazing. A lot of you were paying close attention because you were hearing it too. And it wasn't until I went to Mexico and caddied for DJ up in Leon, Mexico, at 6,000 feet that I finally realized I was breathing seriously heavy on those. We had 4 holes on the backside, went straight uphill, and we were at 6,000 feet plus. And man, I couldn't suck in air fast enough. And I'm probably lucky that I didn't kill myself doing that. But anyways, that's what makes me know I'm supposed to be here talking to y'all. So anyways, I got one topic I'm going to bring up about something on driver length that I read, and I know Doc's got a couple things to say to you. And I guess the last thing I'm going to say and close off to Doc now is that when I went to see the doctor about just before the operation, he had okayed me for doing the school in Chicago. And then he started looking at the catheterization a little bit better, and all of a sudden he said as long as you go to Chicago and you don't do anything strenuous, lift or get over exhausted. And then he saw something. He said, "Uh-oh." And he looked at it really again. He looked at two or three times. He says, "I rescind that permission to go to Chicago," because he said the aortic valve won't kill you, but this blocked artery will. He found another blocked artery through the catheterization, and that's when all of this got really quick at me having to get in and have surgery. Uh, so I will say this: there's an outside chance, probably a pretty good chance, that my first trip out will be Australia this year, which would be the end of November, early December. Again, that's totally up to my doctor and my head nurse here, who's sitting right downstairs in the living room, because my wife Susan is a nurse, an RN, and in the end, I don't know if she's gonna if she would
And the boss.
yeah, the boss. So I don't know if she'd overruled the doctor. But when I asked that question, she wasn't too happy to. But that's 2 months, 2.5 months from now is a lot longer. So everybody in Australia, keep your fingers crossed. Doc and I might be coming there, and if not, maybe after the first year. But hopefully we'll come there late November, like we always do, or early December, first week of December. All right, Doc, it's all yours.
Good. First thing I want to say is you're looking really good. You and I have talked several times, but I haven't had the chance to see you. You look really, really good. And even though wearing the T-shirt is painful, I'm sure we all appreciate the fact that you have it on. So thanks for wearing that.
The big scar is not the best thing to look at.
Yeah, I didn't want to see that again.
You know what's crazy thing about it? You know how they put this together? They cut all your ribs, right? And then they put them back together with wire. So I don't know if it's chicken wire or whatever in there, but they got some wire tying up all my ribs together. But you know how they don't sew up that scar. They glue it.
Oh my goodness!
I'm glued together. I'm glued together right here.
You're held together with glue and wire.
Yeah.
Okay. First thing I want to cover is one of those things that, I don't think anything just happens for no reason, or I should say in this case doesn't happen for a reason, because you and I originally were scheduled this month to go to Boston, and the New York area, and without you being able to go, of course, I was still going. We filled up the New York metro area. We have one spot left. So for all practicality, we filled it up. And we're going to be in Shelton, Connecticut. We had absolutely nobody sign up for the Boston area. And Brady, unbeknownst to you, Brady and I had talked about this previously, that with you going in and having the surgery, and you being, Boston is in your blood, it was a shame that the first trip into Boston wouldn't have you with us. So with the lack of response, we pulled it down yesterday. So we will put Boston back on the schedule for next year. Absolutely. And the surge will be in there on the initial trip going into Boston. So I feel, again, like it was just kind of providential that the first time we go to Boston, you should be included. So you will be.
Okay. And just to make sure the Red Sox are in town that whenever we go up there.
Yeah, we do need to schedule that so we can get those box seats you keep telling me about. So other than that, the only other thing, I think I'm going to be doing a daily, I've covered this before, but I got an email this week from a gentleman talking about having trouble hitting a 3-wood off the deck. So I think we've probably got enough new viewers that it's time to do the video again, why a 3-wood shouldn't be in your bag. So I will probably shoot a daily here next week on that again and cover, probably why a 3-wood shouldn't be in most of our people's bag unless they're using it for a tea club. So that's it as far as I've got, and I'll turn it back over to you. There are a couple questions here that are in your area of expertise, so I'll let you handle it.
All right, let's start off with let's do my driver length thing. There was a big article in Golf Week about June 20th, and it's called Lengthy Discussions, and it's about driver lengths on the PGA Tour. And couple of they basically interviewed a lot of the tour reps that are out there, and all of them are saying that like for example, one of them said that in some ways I really hope that we can get to a point where standard doesn't matter. He said, meaning every golfer should get custom fit for his driver. I ask, why only the driver?
Yeah.
I want the best length for each individual golfer. That would be ideal. They came down there and he said that in 1960s, most drivers were 42 to 43 inches. Correctamundo, right? When Tiger Woods came out on tour, he had a 43-incher. When 43 inches was standard, Jack Nicklaus played 42.5 inches. They got a list here of about 10 guys, drivers on tour, like Keegan Bradley is 45 inches, Ricky Fowler's 44.5 inches, Dustin Johnson's 45.75 inches. Now remember, Dustin Johnson and Bradley are way taller than Fowler. I mean, they're probably 5 or 6 inches taller than Fowler because they're all in a 6'3", 6'4" range. Rory McIlroy, who's probably somewhere at 6 feet the best, he's 45.5. Then you got Phil's at 45.5. Here we go, Patrick Reed, 43 inches. He might be about the only guy out there, maybe except for Eric Compton or something like that. Oh yeah, by the way, I gotta give Eric Compton a shout out. As you know, he was tied for runner-up in the U.S. Open, and they talked significantly about the fact that Eric Compton is one heck of a great guy to be modeled after, because I've had now 2 heart surgeries, 2 open heart surgeries. He's had 2 heart replacements, and I hate to say this, he's only like 36 years old, but he was born with a bad heart defect, and so he's had 2 heart replacements. So my stuff is basically no big deal compared to what he's been through. So they're talking about these lengths. Now, it says here, accomplished players. Oh, yeah, he says, of course, not all things are equal. With added length comes the likelihood that many golfers will miss the sweet spot. There's one of the biggest issues we've always said, because you can only hit a driver longer if you can swing a longer driver as fast and hit it as solid and as square. So then he says, accomplished players tend to have very repeatable swings, so why not play a longer driver that would theoretically provide more distance? Yes, provided you can swing it as fast and hit it as solid and as straight and as square. He says, this one rep says, we have measured millions of swings and learned that 99% of the time, a good golfer returns the club face to within 3 degrees of being square at impact. Isn't 3 degrees still a kind of a lot to be open at impact? And isn't it worse the longer the club is?
And again, we go back to, it depends on your swing path, but they're totally missing the picture. Whether the club is 3 degrees open, 3 degrees closed, or square, the issue of the longer club is, can you return the club at impact to where the ball is hitting the sweet spot of the club? And I've used this examples hundreds of times. Stand at arm's width from the wall and draw a little circle on the wall, something you can erase, and stand arm's width, and on 3, stick your finger in that circle. Then get a ruler. Back up to arm's width plus the ruler. Count the 3. See if you can stick the ruler in the circle as fast and as accurately as you could just your finger. Then get a yardstick. Stand even further back. Stand at yardstick and arm's length. Count to 3. And see how accurate you are at putting the yardstick in the circle as fast and as accurately as when it was just the length of your arm. So a tour player, I mean, even when we did GJ's fittings, I could give him a 45.5-inch driver, and he's good enough that he returns the head at impact and hits the ball in the same spot every single time. But the difference is that his club head speed did not increase with the increase in the length. So the human machinery was not able to swing the longer shaft with the same swing speed, therefore it didn't create the same club head speed. So we found optimum length for DJ is 44.5. His club head speed was maxed out there. So what happens when you swing the 44.5-inch driver compared to the 45.5-inch driver? Regardless of the fact that you're hitting it in the same spot every time, the biggest thing is, why does a pro ever take a 3-wood off a tee? Control. So the shorter the club, the more control you've got. But they keep pushing, the OEMs, original equipment manufacturers, keep pushing longer, 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 because they're basing it on the principle of levers. The longer the lever, the more work with the same input. but the human machinery does not work that way. You reach a point of diminishing return where the driver is now at such a length that you physically cannot swing it with the same swing speed. And everybody talks about swing speed. Nobody knows what their swing speed is. We measure club head speed. So when your swing speed diminishes, your club head speed is going to diminish also. So the key is find what is the optimum length where you max out on your club head speed and you can continue to hit the ball in the same spot on the club face, not whether it's open or closed or whatever. I think you go on and say that article says they can learn to bring it back within 3 degrees of square. Again, I'm saying, why should I have to learn how to swing my golf club if it's correct? And you were mentioning all those lengths of guys out there who are playing longer drivers. Sergio plays one that's 43 3/4 inches. So there you have it. Still, average driver length of a tour player, 44 to 44 and a half. So for all of these guys like Dustin Johnson that they just mentioned who play longer drivers, you've got guys who are playing shorter drivers. Tiger still doesn't play a 44 and a half inch driver.
They got Tiger Woods down here at 45 inches now.
Bull.
Well, it says 45 inches here.
I hear it, but I don't. I bet you when he plays, he don't play it.
They got Bubba Watson at 44 and a half. Adam Scott 44 3/4. The only one that's short is Patrick Reed that they got listed at 43 inches. Anyways, okay. The last thing I'm just going to say this, and because I want to get to these couple questions, and they're both pretty good questions. In the end, the longer the club is and the bigger the head, with the sweet spot pushed out towards the toe, it now makes it more difficult to square that head up, even with a good golf swing, right? Because you got the sweet spot so far away from the axis of rotation, which is the shaft, correct?
The longer the club, the bigger the head, the more effort it takes to square it up. Pure and simple.
Okay, so we've talked about that again, and I'm sure we'll in the past, and we've talked about it again in the future. All right, let's do the first question. This question came in from, I've lost the name here.
Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell. And Bruce says, driving question. Upon impact with your driver, should the face be slightly aiming right with your turn, bringing the club back to square? Seems like when I do this, I have less slicing and straighter drives. That's basically correct. Because if I'm in the catcher's mitt, okay, I'm going to have to try to see my hands are on the screen, and I'm over here coming in, and I'm coming into impact here. My hands are kind of right here. So the face should be, if I have a square grip, the face will be pretty much aiming there. And what is release? Release is the arms rotating in the ball and socket joint, right? Where I'm going to come back to right here in front of me, square. All right, and so it's got to be a little bit right. I'll use my right hand, and it squares up, and then it goes into the forward catcher's mitt over here, square. So it should be coming slightly open, and as we know, the ball is on the club 1/2 of 1,000th of a second. That's 0.0005, and only no more than about a half-inch motion on average. So basically, if you're hitting an iron, by the time you strike the ball, when you strike the ball, by the time the leading edge of the club is in the ground, the ball's already coming off. So it's scary how much bad direction we can put on a driver in such a short time. Okay, so that is absolutely correct. So what this is telling me is you're finally learning to release the club properly. You're definitely making a better peak performance golf swing because the club does come in, squares up, and it's going to start to somewhat shut down. But we do an exact amount of rotation from square toe up, thumbs up here to square toe up, thumbs up on the other side. So good observation, absolutely correct. The second question from George Smith goes, this is about on-course management. We don't run into this stuff very much. I think one of these days when I can get back to a home base and go out on the golf course, I'd like to start doing a steady show that will involve playing with the Surge or something. Okay? It says, Surge, what are your swing thoughts when on the course? Are they different depending on the club you are hitting? Do they change depending on how you are playing? Thanks. Okay, these two are very vague, but yes. I mean, yes to a lot of these things. On course, man, what are your swinging thoughts when you're on the course? Well, it's based on the shot I got to hit, what's going on out there, what's out there, and yes, they always have some relevant. How I'm playing plays a big part on what I'm doing. Now, I have a lot of people, you hear them say they go to the driving range in the morning, and whatever and you hear the tour players say all this. I heard one of the guys say it on TV the other day. Well, when I go to the range, I drop the balls, I start loosening up, and whatever I'm hitting on a tee that day, that's what I do. Bull. I don't buy into that one. At least not me. I go to the range, I try to hit the ball relatively good. For me, is relatively straight. If I hit a couple cut shots, I ain't going to go out there and try to cut everything if I haven't been playing cut shots all week. All right? I go out there and I try to hit good shots. Now, naturally, if I'm off a little bit, I'm going to be playing more conservative shots instead of maybe flying at a flag. I might be just start hitting to the front of to the middle of the green. I might get on a tee, and if it's really, really tight, I might choke up on the driver a little bit for more accuracy. I might even drop to the 3-wood if length off the tee isn't all that important. It's just depending on how you're swinging, how you're playing, how you're feeling, you have to adjust it and play with those. But I'm always trying to hit good golf shots. I pick my shot I pick the shot I want to hit for the situation, and I play it. Playing into the wind, downwind, crosswinds, the wind's blowing, that makes a big difference too. So a lot of guys say they go out there with a strategy for every hole, but the strategy can change based on conditions and based on you. And so, yes, they should be changing. But I think in the end, we all have a basic swing and a basic flight pattern that should be our go-to shot, and that's what I try to hit. And I don't deviate from it and I try to hit the ball relatively straight. And the only time I deviate it is when I basically can't hit it straight to where I want to go because something's in the way or I got to go around something. All right, so it's kind of a vague answer there, but yeah, I every shot's a different shot, and it's based on what the conditions are when I'm standing there and when I'm making my decision where I'm going to hit.
Let me ask you something, and I think I kind of understand a little bit what he's getting at. You know how you hear people talk about a certain swing thought or an objective when you set up over the golf ball. What's actually going through your head as far as the mechanics go involved in the swing? A couple times you and I've talked about this, that you wanted, at one point you were wanting to make sure your weight wasn't getting out on your toes so it was back. It's kind of like a checklist that you go through before actually pull the trigger. Now, you have certain swing thoughts, and I think I would be correct. It depends on where your game is at a certain point as to what your checklist is before you actually pull the trigger. But once you pull the trigger, there is no thinking. You don't have time for it. To further clarify swing thought, if a golfer is trying to think while he's executing the swing, he's going to probably wind up screwing himself in the ground. The thought process has to precede the actual physical motion. And then his question was, do you change your swing thoughts or your pre-shot checklist based on different clubs? And I'd like to hear your answer on that one.
Well, it depends on what my pre-swing thoughts are. Remember, there's two types of thoughts, pre-swing and in-swing. In-swing means I can have a thought that either it's I want to start with the toe first, or I want to make sure that certain things happen in the swing. But normally it's only one. Or sometimes I think if at least if your mind's as acute as mine is in feeling and sensing, sometimes I can have sort of something like a takeaway in a transition one or somewhere in the finish, because you get that split second between backswing to forward swing to think about something. But yeah, it could change from club to club, and then realistically, it might be that maybe my long irons haven't been playing that well, and I haven't been hitting them that well, so I'm going to focus on those a little bit more, and that could have a pre-swing thought just for that, as well as an in-swing thought. But most of the time, my pre-swing thoughts are something to do to make sure my setup is more perfect. And as you just mentioned, one of my big things is because of my long arms, I tend to my arms pull me out, and I'm too far from the ball. And I'm reaching, and that gets me to go outside a little bit and almost get pulled into the ball a little bit. So one of the things I cheat on is I'm going to turn a little bit here, is if this is the heel of the club where the shaft is coming up right here, a lot of times when I'm playing well, and I've had students notice this in golf lessons, that when I hit a golf ball, I walk in and I put the ball on the hosel of the club. Right where if I hit it there, it's going to be one heck of a super hosel rocket.
Mm-hmm.
But that gets me to be a lot closer to the ball. Now sometimes I'll pull that club back to the middle. But I get sometimes when I'm playing really good, I don't pull it back. I just swing from there and hit it dead center of the club. And why do I tend, if I happen to hit hoggle rocket? Because I'm reaching too much and I have to slide more into the ball to reach it.
See, I've started doing just the opposite based from that last school that we did in Florida, where you were talking about if you wanted to draw the ball a little bit more, you stand just a little bit further. I was getting too vertical and was starting to hit a nice little fade, which I don't mind, but when I wanted to hit a draw, I'm going, what do I do? And that's when you told me, stand just a little bit further from the ball. So now if I want to play a draw shot, I stand a little bit further from the ball, and the ball is on the toe of the club. Whereas for you, it's just the opposite.
It depends on what somebody's propensities are.
Right.
And like I've had people who stand way too close to the ball. I had them walk in with the ball on the toe of the club, and then push the ball to the center of the club, and boom, they're in the right distance. But they got to find out where exactly on the toe does it have to be right. That leads me to the next big question: is it further or farther?
That's a good one. I'll have to consult with the grammar teacher on it.
Yep.
Yeah, you got I know we've got some other questions actually rolling in during the event here. Alan Fisher and Randy Wolf also just sent in some quick questions as well.
Randy from Atlanta.
Yeah.
Let's see, possibly if we can squeeze those in. I know Doc has
All
a few other things he needs to talk about as well. So
yeah, so let's hit us with the questions.
all right. Well, if you look on your screen there, Don, the first one's about grip from Alan Fisher.
And he says he started gripping the club with both his hands running down the grip at an angle. And now my hands cover most of the grip. This is squaring up my hands, and my shots are amazing. I can address that one. I've had a couple golfers that were having trouble releasing the club. I had them go to the 10-finger grip and strengthen the grip, and it allows them to square it up. It's a very valid comment. Randy's, Doc, Serge, what's the relationship in your thoughts of the weight of the shaft and club head speed? I found that I can increase my 6-iron speed by 5 miles per hour when I tried a 40-gram lighter shaft, and the results were 10 increased yards versus the heavier shaft. It's Randy, that's a great question, and it's going to vary from person to person. You can get a shaft that's too heavy, and it will cut down on your club head speed. You can get a shaft that's too light, and it will cut down on force. So again, from the fitting standpoint, it's to marry the two together, finding the proper weight of the shaft, which then goes to the question of finding the MOI that is right for the golfer. When you find that, that's the amount of effort that it takes to swing the club. And we can monkey with MOI with weight of head, weight of shaft, weight of grip. As long as we have the right MOI, you'll hit them all the same.
All right.
Well answered.
Yeah, so I know, Doc, you got a few other things you wanted to discuss. You want to cover those real quick? We're already up to 30 minutes, so.
Okay, let's. We've been promising to spring something on folks for 6 or 7 months now, and people have been very patient. And what you guys should be looking for in the next couple days will be a rollout of a collaboration between Don and myself. We have our own private branded clubs coming out, and Brady will be putting all that information up on the website and making the information available to people on the process. If you want to be one of the select folks, and I'm not saying that in a egotistical manner, but the supplies are limited.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of stock, so
So keep your eye out for the announcement in the next couple of days for the Dock and Surge Club line.
Now,
Yeah.
will these be fitted clubs?
yeah, they
Yes.
the process for the clubs is a little different than going on a website and buying a club. You won't actually be able to purchase the club on the website immediately. What will happen is what you will be purchasing will be a remote fitting session. After that remote fitting session, you will get a recommended set of clubs that will have direct links that allow you to actually purchase the club online.
Okay.
So it's kind of a multi-step process, mainly like a two-step process, and upon checkout you'll get a special confirmation page, you'll get special email, you'll get special things added to your account that helps you with the remote fitting session. And the form that you have to fill out, which is fairly extensive and has a lot of questions in it, and will take you some time to get it completed. But we will have that live on the website. There will be email announcements go out, and it should go out within the next 48 to 72 hours.
Doc,
Yes, sir.
drivers will be all 360 heads, right?
Yes.
And
Well,
3 woods, 5 woods, hybrids.
there is one exception. We will be introducing a 385cc offset head this year as well.
Okay.
They're not in yet, but if this will be more particularly when I'm out in the field rather than the long distance fitting, unless somebody just flat tells me I hit slices all the time. And if they do, then I'm probably going to suggest that we put them in an offset head until they learn to release the club properly or work on the swing path. But they're all the normal head that we do is 360, and then we will also have a smaller version, 385, and an offset.
All right, then there will be 3 woods for people who can use them, and then there'll be hybrids and iron heads. Are we going to have more than one model head?
Yeah, we've got 2. We've got the
Two
forged head, and then we've got the Super S model, which is more of, gosh, I hate to use the word, but when you're trying to communicate with people, you have to talk in a language they understand. So I'm going to say one is more of a players club, the other is more of a game improvement club.
So just for
Look at Brady.
just since we're live here, I pulled up a picture of one of them.
Brady, you are too cool. That is the Dock Surge, the Surge Dock CB Pro. That is the Players Club. It is a forged club, and these are very, very limited.
Yeah, that's the Forged Club, and while I'm at it, I can pull up the Super S.
There you go.
I can pull up the Super S as well. There's a Super S.
So, and that one would be classified more of the game improvement. It's designed more for a slower club head speed because it's got undercut channel technology, which brings the center of gravity lower and deeper back off the face. But I'm gonna tell you what; those are good-looking clubs, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, let me pull up one more. Let's see. How about the I can pull up the low profile, the Fairway Club. Here we go. There's a Fairway Club, the bottom of it. So.
Now, notice that it does not say 3, 4, 5, or anything of that. It is a Fairway Club. We will hand pick loft based on what the player needs. So that's why there's not an actual stamp on it that says this is 15 degrees or 19 degrees or what have you.
Yeah, and Don was asking about the drivers. I'll go ahead
Might
and
as
pull
well.
up the driver anyway. There's the driver. And there it is, stamped right on bottom, 360cc forged.
Yep, and then the next one will look just like that. It'll be an all black head, but we'll have offset.
Yep. So anyway, that's a little. It's a little bit of
A little teaser.
a little teaser. So
Yes.
all these will be put up on the website, and I mean, there's going to be photos of everything. You'll get a good. There's plenty of photos to look at. But like I said, the first part of the ordering process is you actually get purchase a remote club fitting, and then you'll be supplied links to actually
Right.
purchase
Here's
the
a big
clubs.
here's a big question, Doc. In a long distance fitting, which means somebody in Australia, Europe, Alaska could do it. All right.
Correct.
How close can you get in a long distance fitting to building that set as good as you would if they were in a personal fitting face to face with you?
If they supply me the information that's on that 14 page, is it 11 or 14 pages, Brady?
It's 48 questions total.
Yeah.
I can't remember
All
the
right.
page count.
It's pretty intense.
Do they get a college degree
Except-
with this when they answer all the pages, all the questions?
Do they get what?
A college degree with this?
Oh, you got to have a
48
college
questions?
degree to do it.
Well, yeah, and you'll also probably have to visit a location and gather some of the
You will.
data.
There's some information that will require going to a facility such as a Golf Galaxy or a Dick's, but they have the equipment to do it. Now, as I was saying, if the person gives me the information correctly, I can do a long distance fitting as accurately as if the person was standing in front of me.
Now, does that still mean you're going to try to get them to send you a video of them swing?
Oh yes, that's in there.
That's part of it. Okay.
Oh
Because
yeah.
that's important, because that's how you see the shaft load and unload and make decisions as to
Also see where
all
they
things.
release the club and what their tempo is.
And so the Dick's, having to go to Dick's or one of those other places is to get more accurate club head speeds, right?
Just particularly club head speed, yes.
Yeah.
With two
All right,
clubs,
so-
5-iron and a driver.
All right. So any other things you have to add before we close this one out?
Well, I'd like to say I know there was a lot of other questions sent in, and unfortunately we just didn't have time to answer them all. There were another 6 or 7 questions posted on the
Well, why don't we
posted
keep
in the
those,
comments. So
why don't we keep those for the next time and send them to me? Maybe I can answer them on dailies when I get going on that.
Yeah. Well, they're definitely there. They're on our Google Plus page attached to this Hangout. But I hate we couldn't get to them all. We try to answer the ones that come in through the actual Hangout questioning thing, because the person will be able to index exactly where their question was answered and when it was over. But I just want to say thanks for everybody watching, and we hate we couldn't answer all the questions today.
Hopefully, we're going to try to start doing these on a more consistent time basis.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna. Well, I think we all like these very well, and we'd like to do more of these. So, Don and Doc, do you have any other last minute things?
Again, I just want to close by saying that I can't thank you all enough for your kind thoughts and prayers for me, and how you sent them in before, and I'm still getting them from after, wishing me well, and thankful that I made it through and everything else okay. I mean, that was very heartwarming, very, very comforting to know that so many people cared so much about me. So I want to thank you all again, and hopefully I won't put you through this again, because I don't want to go through it again.
Oh, there is one
Thank
thing
you
that
so much.
I needed to add too, Don. And a lot of folks that can't contact you directly or don't know how to, that do know how to contact me as well. So there's been a lot of well wishes that have come through to me to pass on to you as well. And so there's even more than you know about. And one other thing to add on the monthly visits, because you are not able to come out now, we are reworking the way that we're doing the monthly visits to where when I go out until you're back with me, we will be including teaching as well as fitting in the time frame. So folks that were looking forward to getting peak performance golf swing instruction will still be able to get that for the next several months. I mean, like this month we're in Connecticut, and then next month it's Reno, and I don't know after that, but we will be doing teaching as well.
No, so you're gonna do it both. Good, excellent.
Yeah.
Do it both.
All right. Well, we're few minutes over. We want to thank everybody for coming, and we'll wrap this up. And this will be available for those viewing right now. This will also be available on our YouTube channel within 15 to 30 minutes, depending on how long Google takes to process it. So,
All right.
Thanks to everyone, and we'll see you later.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate all your prayers and thoughts.